Hello.
Hello, am I late? I forgot. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can
I can
hear
hear
you,
you.
yes.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you. That's good. Okay, I need to leave basically in about an hour, 50 minutes. Basically. That's where I am.
An hour and 15? Oh, that's good enough. We
Hour
can end
50.
it there.
The basically at the hour after the next hour. For you, it would be noon, I think.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Also, it feels like your voice is cutting off as you're starting to talk.
Hello, how does it sound right now? Is it cutting off at some
That
point or
that
another?
No, I think it's just we'll see how it goes. But I thought like the very start when you had been talking, uh, if you're just like talking in spurts, it might be like the start of this.
Right, so something like this. Or is it the beginning of the words that's not like being marked?
Sorry.
Is it the beginning of the words that's the problem, or is it the end of the words?
I think you're better now. I'll let you know if it would be the beginning. Basically, it would be if it is a problem, it's because it's not picking you up quickly enough, and the beginning gets cut off.
Right. Also, maybe if I
But
get
we will.
closer to my PC, it's better.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
Okay, so I don't know anything about this game. Do you?
It's an SRPG from one of our collaborators, Half Mass. So I know that they've stated that they were inspired by Oathbreaker to an extent, so I look forward to seeing their approach on the SRPG stuff.
That's a lot of S's.
A miss. Oh, I guess let's see you try to say it.
A miss, a miss, a miss, a missed, a miss, a missed, a missed,
Say it 5 times fast.
a miss, a miss, a miss, a miss, a missed. You don't pronounce the D, you do.
I think you added C. Amidst, like amidst, amidst,
Amidst,
a miss, amidst, a miss.
amidst.
You gotta focus on that one. It's definitely a tongue twister. I guess you want to put up
Yeah, not a
stuff.
bad idea. Straight lectures, and then this. This. Mid. Oh, miss. Now you just have to capitalize it. So how you doing?
A bit of a rush, just like 20 million things this morning. Basically, trying to get done before I have to head out later today. Or it feels like 20 million things. It's probably more like 3.
3 million things.
Oh, you have a new chat on screen
Yes.
aesthetic, do you?
I don't know why. I forgot the reason why I did it.
You definitely did it, right? You don't
Yes.
like you remember doing it, you just don't remember why. Okay,
Yes.
that's good.
I remember doing it, I just don't remember why. just
I guess half mass. Since you're here, do you want us to be just completely honest, whatever thoughts come to mind, that sort of thing, or do you want us to like try to be more specifically constructive? Or I guess is there any way you want us to approach it? Since part of this is to give you feedback that you'll find helpful in going forward too.
do we have a glossary?
Okay, I could not understand you even the slightest there. Every single word was sort of cut off a little bit.
Do we have a glossary?
Glossary. Okay.
Yes.
In Oathbreaker? I don't think we have any of this stuff set up. I don't think we've talked about it. Or people have mentioned, hey, it would be good if you had somewhere you could go, look up stuff again. It's like, yeah, that would be true. And then, we didn't.
Let's see. I am more confident in the game that I was originally. Feedback is extremely important to me. That says that's what Half Mask had to say.
Is this all currently relevant?
To what?
I'm going to tell you about some parts of the game that don't work right. Okay. Then this is context we'll probably need moving forward.
Your convoy has items.
So there's basically cheat stuff in the convoy if you really want it. Doesn't know how they want permadeath to work. How they want permadeath to work or not. Interesting. Fog's acting up in Battle Map 3. Oh no, do you have Fog of War? That didn't go that smoothly for when Icarue did it.
A lot of crap. No fog of war, just fog.
Okay.
What is the name of the game? A miss amidst a miss. I say you
We can post a link. We can post a link to it more directly. Or Half Mask if you want to post a link in Icarue's server too. Because there's links in my Discord, but I don't feel like I don't know if you posted in Icarue's. So this is just this is this is a little bit of a nitpick that I find not satisfying. When you have text boxes that bleed into the next text box without a solid period to end it, and what's in that text box can sort of just stand on its own as that. When it goes into the next one mid-sentence or with a comma, that bothers me somewhat. Because just the pacing and flow, I'm not a big fan of, in terms of the writing and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just one of those things because when you're in a game and you're doing the click, 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 and as a player you're controlling sort of the pacing of the reading. You sort of want to write it towards the medium, and you want it to sort of like have a nice cutoff right there, so like the actual pacing and flow of the text stops there, into the next, into the next, into the next. It's a small relative nitpick, but it's something I feel works better. I know it's AI stuff, but the like realistic sort of style versus like even an anime style feels it's like the sort of like like an RPG Maker games when you have like the sort of almost pseudo photorealistic like 3D models that people have, and they put it like an RPG Maker game with like the chibis and all the stuff that you have like an RPG Maker game typically. It never feels like it fits quite. I totally get why like you have AI stuff and whatnot. I know where you are on that just because we've talked about it, so I'm not really complaining too much about that. But observation, how you feel, what you like, what you didn't, right? So just I tend, and I guess FYI from my perspective, Icarue can attest to this. I tend to focus on what I see and say, that could be improved, rather than focusing on, oh, that's good. So FYI, just to contextualize some of my thoughts. Interesting use of the map too. Interesting use of the map to basically create a place to actually walk around and do stuff. I think it's a good idea, but I'd also want to see it play out for a bit longer throughout the game before I come to a stronger conclusion. Okay, can you pop up the log for that again? What was in that tutorial?
Flying units. Flying units are external forces.
No, the tutorial's not here. That's unfortunate.
It said that you might want to send items to the inventory, to the convoy.
Yeah, so ultimately, I'm guessing since there's a glossary, does the glossary have all the tutorials in it?
No, it just had the term, like the terms, like what each term means.
Yeah, okay. I don't know how possible it is to have those pop up in the glossary. So, it's a tricky thing in creating game design, right? Trying to teach the player how to do stuff. When you have a block of text saying, hey, you can do this sort of thing, that's very typically sort of that could work, but also there's like a decent chance that you're just going to forget by the time that it comes up again. Or you're basically chancing, even if there's like 10% of people that just don't remember a certain detail, you're chancing like 10% of people not having it reinforced. What's the classic? What's the classic? Teach, reinforce, test is the classic like loop of teaching in gameplay mechanics, or just for anything really. You present an idea, which could be in text and whatnot. And then you do something to reinforce it, and then you basically test them on it to further reinforce it, as well as basically act as like a mini blocker, like they sort of need to know this. You obviously can't do that with everything, but that's usually the ideal place to do it. If it's the more vital you consider it to know, the more important it is to have that. as the base conversation tutorials in it currently. Yeah, that's definitely important.
Yeah, you meant practice
Probably
makes
the other thing,
perfect. Practice makes perfect. Or that you meant perfect.
I mean, that could be.
Like, it could be.
This could be a joke.
Go
It
ahead.
could be a joke. It sounds like it could be a joke. Practice makes permanent, like playing on the fact that you'd expect perfect. Hopefully, if I practice perfectly, I won't screw up when it's time for the real thing. Like, he gets it, but he doesn't quite get it. I could see that as a joke, too. I guess my main feedback for that would be if you're making a joke and it's like specifically trying to riff on like a proper thing, real thing, then you want to make it real obvious, or else people will be questioning it like that, which sort of undermines the joke. So something that came up when we were doing Oathbreaker that I think is probably a good point here when we were first sort of like working out how we wanted to present the story and whatnot. The reason we put like narration up in the middle was specifically because we wanted to be able to have it on screen at the same time, sort of like what you're doing here. But we also, I remember Icarue bringing up the thought like, if you have this like on the screen, sort of just like the idea of having to look from top to bottom, where like if you actually having it basically middle and bottom, I think is good. But if you had it like bottom and top, then if it was like a full screen thing on your computer, and not like on a GBA or something like that, where in Fire Emblem you see that more often, then your eyes are just like jumping up and down to a point where it's like it doesn't work nearly as well.
Agreed. It's a stylistic sense that I think worked for OB. I don't remember how others did it. I'm trying to remember specifically how Apollo did it, but I think he also did bottom and top. Or maybe he did all bottom. Keep narration on top. I would say keep narration in the middle, because otherwise there's like a lot of jumping. But that's just me. I mean, it works as is.
Narration on top. Sorry, I got distracted there for a second. Narration on top. I guess it depends how often you pull narration, right? Like if you look at my writing style, especially in Oathbreaker, narration is just super commonplace. Like I use it as a way to pace out the scene. So if it was commonly on the top, that would probably run into the problem. I will say, is just like a choice in terms of writing and whatnot. Putting quotation marks at the beginning and end of everything, like sorry, if you go back to the log, there was one there where okay, no, never mind. That one actually worked, right? It just sort of spaced a bit oddly in the original. So yeah, ignore me. But yeah, no, I always found like there's some logic in putting quotation marks at the beginning and end of all the actual dialogue, but that also feels like you'd start forgetting it at times, and there's a lot more room for just typo errors as soon as you commit to that.
Oh, this reminds me. This being inspired by Oathbreaker, and Oathbreaker being inspired by Fire Emblem. Place your bets how long the father and or mother are gonna live. Because there are fathers and mothers. Well, I assume there's a mother. Because there's a queen.
No, that's just like a common Fire Emblem thing, right? Where the parents don't typically stick around, right?
Yep. They generally die. Poor parents are in pain. Oh. Did I use the key? No. What is this? Super tunnel. Speed 4. Huh. I don't want to use my weapon. Alright, looks like I need to make it more obvious, but there There is a goodie in the doors to the right side in the map, in the white area. I'll take a look.
Oh, I see that. Yeah, no, I would not have guessed that.
You mean this one? They said right side. That is the right side part of the map. So it will be in the doors to the right side of the map. So that was literally the goodies. Okay. You got the goodie. The goodie got the goodies. Oh, that reminds me. Can you hear my fan?
I am not hearing a fan myself, at least.
Got it. I need to find the better music for the chapel. It started nice, but it gets darker than I intended. What a coincidence that they sent the message just around the time there was a but. B-U-T-T or B-O-T. However you want to pronounce it, I think both are the same. Also for music, you can always grab like free music from a source. I think we have some of them pinned in the server, right? 6?
Yeah, I made a thread that has a bunch of free sources for music. I don't know if you've delved into that at all, but there's a good amount that you could probably take advantage of. I haven't actually really heard SRPG's like basic stuff enough to actually recognize if it is like the RTP.
I don't. I have done it. Especially the vanilla stuff. Like for the title and such. When
Changing Blade you did that for, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I interrupted. I interrupted. What did you wanted to say?
I don't remember. I thought I said it. I don't remember you interrupting. I will say, I do feel like a lot of information is being provided very early. It's a tricky thing to like pace out world building, but
Huh. The music from
the
Vision is still going.
it's true. Some of the tricky part about world building is all the different information that you have to remember, because it is sort of like gameplay mechanics that if you want to like have this information so that the impact of later stuff like comes into focus because you're aware of it, it is very tricky to properly lay out everything. Just because there's partly because especially in political stuff, there's just so many like names to even be aware of.
I don't need training. I think another advantage of pacing out the text boxes is that you don't get like chunks of text as often. Like so far.
You mean like what I was saying where you mean like what I was saying where like you make sure it like ends with like a period and that sort of stuff, so
Yeah.
you go on to a new thought in the next one?
Yeah. Because right now it feels like
Yeah, one.
lucky.
Yeah, I can't do it as much in Oathbreaker because I'm writing in a script rather than in the engine, but like in between, I typically aim for like 3 lines. That's like just in my own experience, like 3 lines of text is usually the amount I consider the most reasonable regular max you want to hit. Sometimes go to 4 if you just have that occasionally. I feel like in my head, 3 lines of text is usually around what you can get to before people can't just like glance and quickly get that information at a decent pace. Once it gets beyond 3, it starts getting in sort of wall of text, and you sort of have to put more focus on each individual one, and it sort of slows down the pacing.
feel there is a scene change broken in that dialogue I like.
It's still the same music from that event. Trying to remember.
Save.
Well, if it's like Oathbreaker, then I'll have the save at the beginning of the turns too.
Hammer Lady seems to
Okay,
be
this
like
doesn't look. This doesn't look too complicated. I will say one thought is definitely that I get the feeling that most games like this don't ease people in very well if they're not already familiar with Fire Emblem. That was part of the reason we do that first map with like Pup, just being one-on-one against another one to sort of like guide you through the process of just fighting.
It's also fun. Tutorial in Quest should help you with that. Yes, I purposely evaded it. Can heal even without the aid of save. Doubles EXP until level 5-ish. You sound like a permanent unit. You're the Jagan. I'm just trying to see what kind of bad thing this guy has. Resistance. I guess your resistance is not super high. But look at this defense though. And the strength. And it's level 1.
I've admittedly not gotten to the point where like I have a good feel for like if that's actually a big difference or not.
I mean, it's double the defense of everyone else. Oh, you can dismount. What happens if I dismount? Minus 20 movement. I think that's a bug.
Minus.
She has movement 5.
See what happens. See what happens.
Sure. Gargan's actually promote the Squire class is an intermediate class compared to Bloodchild or Prince. Okay, so it goes. So Prince or Godchild are class 1. Squire is class 2, and then whatever this guy is class 3. A visual bug, now your movement's 3. I mean, she's still pretty heavy. behind the scenes, whole book is multiplied by 10, and then the script changes how it's displayed. Interesting. I'll use your text first and locals. Oh, interesting. It gives me more control over
What is
the
negative?
brain.
So what does negative 20 translate to? Is it like negative 2? Negative 2 if it's times by 10?
Probably. That makes sense. Yeah, -2.
Okay.
Sure, I'll risk the 66%. You look at Gerwin. Who's Gerwin? Oh, where's Gerwin? Take damage. Takes damage for adjacent allies. Avo plus 10 plus 15 for adjacent allies. Interesting. And you are plus 4. And just double it. And the Jagan will Jagan. Oh, that's a lot of range. That's a lot of range.
There is a lot of... I'm thinking about the map design a little bit. I can see how it's basically split up into 2 paths. But like the reach of the enemies, how much of it is basically archers having reach?
That's 3 archers.
I will say I like that you kept the sort of like you have the battle like is like a little window within the world sort of thing. Like that's the sort of thing we do in Oathbreaker. I always like that. It's sort of like how you visually depict it.
I think so. I think it auto like makes them small, not smaller, but default size. So, for example, this window is bigger than Oathbreaker. Oathbreaker is like half-ish the size, like around here-ish. And then the actual default size, like around here-ish. So that's the size of the actual battle window of that movie. The map is just small, but is actually a really good idea. What is this? Why are you that color?
That's usually, I think that's the SRPG sort of like sign for they have something that'll, you might want to dismount.
Fair. Yep, it was dismount. So, horses are allergic to lances. Spears are allergic to cavalry. Interesting.
I think that makes sense logically, but also, oh, it's so tricky to like communicate and have that stuff be memorable. Elemental systems, for all intents and purposes, what it is, are always such a tricky thing in my head to like do right, because it's basically, you basically have to learn it if you want it to like flow naturally in terms of like battle strategies and stuff like that. You really don't want it to be something that you're basically double checking. It's a tricky thing to get right, because it can make sense in your head, and it could be so difficult to understand if it actually makes sense in other people's heads too.
Okay, so when can I use this? God children can heal even without the aid of stat. God children healing benefit from divine. And how do I heal myself? Hubry can heal Elidia, but healers can heal themselves. Oh, okay.
Healers can't heal them. Is that something in Oathbreaker? I forget.
No.
I think that might be something in Oathbreaker.
I
think that's how it
healers
works.
cannot heal themselves.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I just don't like it, but yeah, I get it.
Why are they so evasive? Or is it because we're low level and everything like misses half the time?
Is this the thing? This might be the thing. There's a thing in Oathbreaker where, like, in certain circumstances, if you skip it at just the right moment, there's like a point where like it plays out the animation, but it doesn't, like, it always makes you miss or something like that.
Generally, try to avoid
There's something like that that.
Go ahead.
I was just like, there's something like that in Oathbreaker that I remember, and it was just like, I always felt like I saw it when I was testing, because I was always like a little rushing through playing it. I think that's an SRPG thing, basically, but also,
You can just turn off combat animations. I mean, I guess at this point. They're cool and all. Real battle.
I know Icarue is not like the biggest fan of giving attention to the actual battle animations and whatnot. I remember there being a point where you were with Oathbreaker where you were like, do we really need to do this? Do we really need to have art for everyone or recolors for everyone? We could just make it so that there isn't battle animations at all.
I mean, that's what Apollo did. And I think that's what... I think Flanagan also turned it off.
Like, I can get it in a smaller game, but if you want to have something with like characters that feel like they leave an impact and that sort of stuff, I do think it's important to have because it's part of making the battles feel a bit more intimate, like they're actually fighting it.
Do you, at some point in, are you at some point in the game, like when you play Fire Emblem, do you ever turn off battle animations?
When I've played Fire Emblem, the only time I remember enough was with Three Houses, and basically what I did was I turned it off if I was doing grinding levels, but if I was doing a new like story map, I turned it back on.
Right. I usually turn it off about halfway through the game. That's an exhausted plans, it's such a would you charges, and oh, I see.
Does it say charges somewhere? I don't see anything to even indicate that that's a trait of it.
Not yet. It
just has durability.
It just has durability. So essentially, it has durability.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see that now. I missed that. Okay. So they don't break, they just become bad, and they can be fixed later. Okay, I think that's generally a good way to go about it if you can do that.
I got diamond. I should be able to see it after I defeat him. So that's 7. So that's 15. Not relevant to the game, but it's automatically fixed at the start of each map. $60 bonus HP. Also, if you are awarding bonus HP for whatever reason, you might want to say you have bonus HP, I think. See, if I give you 2 HP, you're getting 2 HP. You can now have a sword that doesn't break. Shove, combo. For map 3. I wonder what's happening
I will say that the like obviously you took a screenshot and then you wrote in the one. It's endearing in a sense, but it's also like yeah I've used like the snipping tool enough that I know exactly where that came from.
I think it'd work. I mean, it makes the what'd you call it?
Oh, it's way better than not having a visual representation.
Yeah.
Way better. I just found like that specific thing stood out to me because it's like, oh, I recognize that. I recognize that so very well because I've used that so much for random stuff.
Some of these tutorials I would like to make into larger, hopefully more fun interactions, but I wanted to get a fast, dirty version out for now. And that's fair. We're done with that, we're done with that, we're done with that, we're done with that, done with that. Class change. Should I be able to class change? Should class change suck? I will count that error as no, I shouldn't. You have done absolutely zero work on units being able to promote yet, so I'm surprised again. Maybe it's the default thing.
Or maybe more less surprised, more concerned that they can.
Adelgard. The territory is Adelgard, neighbor to Dimitri, and also neighbor to Claudia. Claudia is still a name. Name in progress. Do you understand where I got the names? Six?
I mean, Autoguard sounds like Edelgard to me.
Yes.
It's the main thing that jumped to mind in me. Or sorry, I may have been distracted a little bit there.
The other was a pun on Dimitri, and the other was a pun on Claude. I take playtesting very seriously. The names are literally all German towns. Got it. I can't wait to get to Berlin. It's okay. Well, that person's Austrian.
Sorry, sorry, I got distracted again. Yeah, I have. I did not finish reading that. My bad.
You will not be able to. Sorry.
Yeah, because those are the ones without the log. That is weird that it doesn't have that.
capitalization.
Yeah. This is admittedly a bit of a style thing, but I'm still not a massive fan of the having the so and so rebuked him rather than just having them say the word. It's one of those things where it's obviously a style thing, but I'm a big proponent of like using the medium you're telling the story to its like advantages. And in this, it just feels like writing a book and then putting it in this format.
I think a big thing is there's only one expression. Like, while in Oathbreaker we can use like, oh, here he's angry, here he's like sad or whatever. Here they can only use one emotion. So it's either really reliant on how the characters talk and express themselves, or they use narration to like fill in the gaps. What do you think?
You roboted on me there.
I'll repeat it. What did I say? That because there's one... am I sounding better?
Yeah, no, you just like roboted for like half a sentence there.
Okay, so just a half sentence. That either they use expression, that it all depends on how the characters talk, or they use narration to fill in the gaps. Essentially, they put, oh, I am serious, said,
Yeah.
all break.
Yeah, like if I only had the one emotion, I'd probably, I that would be tricky. I've admittedly never had to write with just one emotion. That is tricky. I'm not sure how I'd approach it. I'd have to think about that.
So Hasmack says that they have gotten that feedback a lot, so it will probably be a phasing out of most of that writing style. Yeah, and it depends on who supervises you and if they like. My attempts at multiple emotions in AI are horrifying. That's one limitation of AI. Until it gets better, emotions are a thing. Which is relatively ironic that, you know, artificial intelligence don't get emotions. Humans for the win.
Yeah, I mean, that is a big part of it. That is a big part of it. It is tricky. It is a tricky discussion to delve into.
I think Parsnips got really good with it. AI can do it if it starts with that idea, but making a face without a Laura have several is reaching. What's a Laura?
Sorry, what's a what?
A Laura. L-O-R-A. Laura.
Oh, I think that's an AI program. Maybe it's basically showing an AI person's face 100 times, so it can copy in different forms. Okay, right. So basically, you're training on like a very specific character, so it can create it somewhat consistently. That did sound familiar, yeah.
But kinda hard. And that's one problem, right? Like, if you feed AI, the result's not gonna be good. And where do you get those 100 images if you can only generate one? What character like Ulfric don't have? Yep, just what I said. Like, for example, you might be able to generate different expressions for Macy, because we have probably not even close to 100. Probably have like 50.
Part of it is certainly like the ability to manipulate some stuff via like Photoshop or other programs like that probably goes a long way in order to make them somewhat consistent.
Yeah, that's what I like. Anime. It's really easy to edit and add like facial expressions. Like realistic looking figures are really hard because it's real. Like a real face is really detailed. Also, I think my personal preference, I would separate narration from the text boxes. Like here he says he called over to Humphrey, and then Humphrey says, well, Elgilrat says, duh. But I would put, he called over Humphrey, and then my lady eats him something. But that's my personal preference, I think. You might have mentioned it before. This is giving me a much better idea about how long the game is now. It does feel a little bit long, but I might.
How far are we through it? How far are we through it at this point?
We're halfway through it. This is the second mission of 3.
Second mission of 3. Okay. I have to leave in a half an hour, so...
You probably don't see the end. third is the longest mission by a significant amount.
Yeah, I mean, if Icarue wants to keep playing and giving feedback after I have to leave, I sort of feel like I want to go back and maybe at your next update or something, go and play through it just by myself at a point. Because
So you can read
between Icarue controlling the pacing and between that and me sort of getting distracted for like a couple minutes at a time, occasionally throughout this, I feel like I don't have a great feeling on the pacing of the plot in particular, and that's sort of where I feel like a lot of my insight could potentially come from.
And my insight, ironically, goes more into gameplay, so story. I think I read relatively fast, or at least relatively fast compared to 6. We'll do it live. Bait used by hunters to lure animals. Bonuses when 3 or more squares from allies. Beware of guest start positions. Users can see further in the darkness. And who else? You were.
Presumably the upcoming fog would be related to that?
Probably. Gain 5% hit at 100 feet. Enemies are less likely to target medics. User attacks first no battles and start the turn really. At start of turn, allies within 2 gain medical aid. Okay, 2 spaces. You have 10 defense and you are glass cannon. So how much bonuses is this? So attack 19 to their defense of 3. So that's 16 damage. And I have a crappy bow. Why couldn't I get the bows from the other guys that had like a range of 3? Cover 1, Silver Tongue 1, and there's Raleigh. I don't know what I did. Well, at least I didn't die. Like, oh, that's a crit. I didn't die. That's good.
Unnecessary crit. Are any of these so like just map design?
What?
Map design elements. Are any of these sections in this map? Do they have different enemies?
Yep, they're all big feral hogs.
So that's a map design thing, where often there's that pacing to maps too. I sort of see it like boss design, like the boss design sort of knowledge I got from between. I generally try to apply it when I make suggestions for maps in Oathbreaker. The idea that you sort of always want to change up the status quo a bit as you like progress through it, so things don't become sort of samey across it.
I forgot to heal the guy. Well, at least he's not dead. I see it a little bit more of, rather than status quo, I see it as mini challenges. So like here this is a mini encounter, here this would be a mini encounter, and here this would be a mini encounter, and how each one like differentiates himself. And it's really easy to do so in an SRPG, in strategy RPG, because you can like create different bottlenecks, create different terrain that helps you deal with that. Technically, there are 3 types on this map, but mostly hogs. Oh, I see. Something's bound to happen. I see. Six. Are there any additional enemies that you think would be fun to vary this map
up? So I guess, Icarue, how do you normally go about creating different enemies in terms of creating like variety?
Specifically for animals, I would choose different archetypes. So, for example, for Castle's recruitment scene, I have like 4-ish enemies. One would be the thief archetype, so the fast but not dealing a lot of damage enemy, which is the rat. I have the ranged enemy. I have the ranged enemy, which are the archers, and in Oathbreaker are the wasps. Then there are the tanks, which are the gorillas, and the cavalry, which are the boars. So essentially, I just translate. I just translate whatever classes we have and put them into animals. And then in general, it depends on the different type of encounter that I want to make. Like, for example, if I combine like logic with what's fun. Like, for example, a bunch of slow-moving armored units would definitely have someone behind them. So I generally put armored units with archers or with mages. For example, cavalry can also be very good to flank units, even though there's no flanking mechanic per se. Like, if you have these 2 units over here, what you have is the player will probably try to come here, and then the cavalry will come and aid this unit, making this a tougher encounter. Or if I want to prevent turtling, what I do is, okay, a lot of units will have the same range, so it doesn't matter what, you're gonna bait a lot of them. Like, you're gonna bait a whole group if you just stand here. So it's in your best interest to try to get the first strike. Is this clear, or am I just confusing people?
Probably best to continue on. Well, makes sense. Yeah, no, the like, I can't speak towards the SRPG stuff super specifically, but like the general design philosophy I think works. Basically boils down to the idea that you're consistently changing up the status quo. The idea, like, of positioning and health changing can go a lot of the way in order to create that effect as well. So you don't need to do like a ton, especially in this where there's a lot of variability sort of built in. But you definitely want to keep the encounter. It's like a map is basically 4 different encounters, one after the other. You want to keep those varied up too. Because that's more what I'm thinking, whether it's the environment around it, the actual enemies you're fighting, all that sort of stuff, or the people that you have to fight it with. For example, the idea of like having 2 different encounters, but you have to split your forces, so you have to fight them with different sets of people. That's a way that you have to approach them each differently, so the strategy is constantly different.
Oh, they're considered cavalry, aren't they? Where the hell do I check that?
Does the spears, do they say that they're good against cavalry, or do they say they're good against animals?
Ineffective versus foot armor.
Is there something in the skills that make it better?
No, it's just like the weapon triangle-ish. The thing is, I didn't know that the hogs were cavalry. I would have played a little bit different.
Oh, there's an autosave. For a second, I was like, oh shit, how long has it been since you saved?
Not quite autosave. I just saved and skipped all the dialogue. Okay, so let's play different.
Yeah, and then just sort of rush through the first steps again.
By putting this guy... The guy died first turn. Wait, what happened? What the hell happened? I think that's a bug. I think by skipping it while getting a tag. I think skipping while getting a tag just fucked up the just made the bug.
Probably have to be like an engine issue, right?
Getting out of hand now, there are 2 of them. forks are beasts, but they are big, and spears are effective versus big. Got it. Let's start slowly moving towards the objective.
Spears are effective versus big.
And
Okay.
I think only if you start combat.
No, I almost wonder. Like, we don't have a lot of triangles or that sort of stuff that isn't like on the weapons in Oathbreaker. But if we had like one that wasn't unusual and you needed to check, I almost wonder like if it would be good to like put like a little icon in the top. I think left corner is basically never used. A little icon for like the triangle or like the typical effectiveness.
For this game or for Oathbreaker?
At the moment for this game, but I may be overcomplicating it. I've not been the one playing it, so I'm not sure how. I can't really speak towards how well communicated the variances or the less like well established, like from Fire Emblem, sort of basically elemental system has been.
I think it's mostly getting used to stuff. Let me save. Weapon list, their effectiveness as well.
So the second page character list. Okay, so there's if you go to an enemy, there's a second page that we can look at.
Weapon type keywords. It's
The keywords.
big, animals, weapon.
You might want to put. You could put in there what they're effective against. Big. Oh, it's big. These weapons are effective against it.
Effective against cavalry. Got it. And are you effective against flyers? You might want to put a description on the range weapons. Also, something that will help, I think I would either lower the HP or increase how much staffs heal. I mean, it's kinda tricky because they're infinite. Like, they're infinite, but at the same time, it just makes me like stall combat until like all my units are fresh and ready.
Yeah, that is potentially a pacing issue. Well, definitely a pacing issue. Imagine when you have more units. That, like, I'm imagining, like, the stuff that we put in that min-maxers just, like, they did because they're able to. I can just imagine. Like, obviously some people will be like, okay, no, that's too much effort, I'm not going to do that. But there will be people that are like, we want to min-max this. We're going to do this every single time for everyone.
I'm not even thinking on min-maxers. I'm thinking of people that don't want their units to die.
Well, I guess, especially if there ends up being permadeath, because there's not permadeath currently, right? There ends up being permadeath, it's just extra motivation to min-max, basically.
Yeah. Did you have to place your units in a very specific space for that scene to happen? I think what you can do is make an area, so if they step within the area... Oh, just Elidia. Ah, I see. Something that gives me an idea. Oh, first turn reinforcement. Now my bane of my existence.
At least it's just the one. Didn't do too much damage.
For now.
That's interesting. I don't think we've done any of those, at least not purposely.
I think I tried to evade first turn reinforcements. Generally not the best thing ever. Or if I just not go into the swampy area. I find it funny that Elidia is the highest level unit because healing gives more XP than killing units.
I think one of the things, can she attack too? Is that a thing?
She can.
She can attack too, I assume.
but she's like really weak.
Okay. I was just thinking, like, how did we... Because, like, managing healer XP was, like, it was one of those things we talked about for a bit back then. It's a tricky thing. Because if you're doing well, you don't need to get healed that much, right?
Right.
And if you're not doing well, then your healer would never be able to, like, be used enough to make up the difference, right?
Oh mother. Oh wonderful. Are you close to death?
You'd probably want to box in to the side, right? How much movement do they have?
This guy's
Oof.
5, but my guy's 0.
Mhm.
Okay, I can probably kill you.
Oh, is that a status?
Yes. It
I
goes
would
over-
certainly say movement down statuses is a questionable decision.
Well,
I
the
would,
archer-
in a game like this, my immediate reaction, in a game like this to a movement down debuff is, it sort of reminds me of like a stun in a JRPG, where you're basically removing a large a part of the ability to actually react, and it's less about adapting to the situation, and it's more about just dealing with it, which are usually the less interesting statuses. Oh yeah, I noticed the bubbles way down there. I sort of assumed at the beginning that was like the goal at the end.
Oh, was it? But reduce the amount of movement down
Maybe.
the
I don't know.
elevators.
What was the actual map goal?
All enemies are defeated. What is the map called? Like, first I kill all the enemies, then I worry about that. I think after this map it would be a good time to call it a stream. Because you would have to leave.
I have to leave in 5 minutes anyways, so I should probably get ready for that.
Yep.
I'll still be listening in the background, but finish up the map, please.
I finished the map. Free sack. Thanks for playing the game, I hope you enjoyed it. I think it's a fine start, a good start. My team...
Yeah, I think it's plenty promising. I think there's a lot of stuff that it's like, when you learn from it, it's the sort of thing where, like, I would imagine making a smaller game and there's like so many like little things you could like learn from it and start on another game that I guess, what is the scope of the plan game for this? Is this like going to be a big project that would be worth going back and redoing stuff? I guess that sort of changes the nature of the feedback. Or is it like a smaller project that you'll take what you learn into a bigger project later?
I am terrible at doing small projects. You should probably start by doing a small project then.
Scope management is a skill.
So this is really big.
If you ever want, I mean, I can't speak for Icarue, but I'm always particularly happy to be involved in discussions about design and scope and trying to like lay out sort of like those initial ideas for a game and stuff like that. I always enjoy that. So if you're ever at that point that you want to like work through that and whatnot, I plenty would be willing to be involved in that. I can speak for Icarue, but
I would say the big thing for, very specifically for SRPG, is how many chapters do you plan to make? What's the level, and how many chapters and what's the level cap? Then you can pace how much XP you get per level, and you can expect what level you will be at certain parts of the game. Like if you set your max level to be 20, and then you reach level 20 by about halfway through the game, trouble. So I say SRPG games are harsher in that respect than normal RPG games. But I guess you can always just rechange the caps and everything, but generally messy with all the progression and such. And one last thing about the last map, like the last map I played, I feel the fact that you made the Lance guy useful. Is there a way I can download this to rewatch it? I'll upload it to YouTube, so you can watch it however many times.
yeah. At minimum, it should be a VOD on for what, like 2 weeks or so?
2 months.
You have it for 2 months? Okay, so it should be on the Twitch channel as a VOD for 2 months.
Because I have Prime. But yes, so making the boars weak to the Lance guy is good, but what you did was to make the Lance guy mandatory instead of optional. If you lower the HP of the boars or lower their attack by a significant amount, yes, the Lance guy will one-shot the boars, but your other units will also not be useless. Because I felt like my other units were pretty much useless. To the point where I just put the Lance guy in tanky attacks and just lance them first turn available. You were about to say something?
Probably the hardest thing in the writing part of it is like storytelling. Like I will always harp on it. Storytelling is the most important thing. You look at like big Hollywood blockbuster movies that are sort of like you look at them and you're like, how's that popular? That plot sucks, that sort of stuff. Storytelling can carry a bad plot and make a good story. A bad or good plot cannot become a good story if it has bad storytelling. Storytelling is the key to how you actually get those ideas across to the person, and it's sort of the hardest thing to learn, I think. It's hard to explain in a lot of cases. I try, like, there's some like technical stuff like I talked about in terms of like how things are presented, in terms of like the pacing of like specific stuff, like going towards the medium or like using the medium to its strengths and stuff like that. There's stuff like that I sort of figure out over time that I've expressed and whatnot, but a lot of it, even on my side, is like a lot of pacing stuff is me feeling it out. But a lot of me feeling it out even is sort of me feeling sort of, how I say it is like, speed. You feel speed in acceleration, not velocity. A plot going 1,000,000 miles a minute, but it's like the same storytelling, like wall of text, people talking, over and over again. That'll feel slower, even if the plot's technically going a mile a minute, right? What you typically want is like even a slow moving plot can feel good to the like pacing wise if you're like sort of moving between different things to like the narration, multiple people talking, visual ways that you can have people move around and keep you engaged to make it. It sort of applies in the same way as like I was talking about battle mechanics, where it's about consistently changing the status quo. So much about like keeping attention and keeping things engaging sort of boils down to that like underlying rule of thumb that it's about consistently changing up the status quo. And it's hard for me to say like what is a good rate to change up the status quo or how much, because a lot of that when I do it by feel, and I like to think that I've done it fairly well, but I don't even know, I'm sort of just guessing. But sort of like that underlying approach is a big part of what makes a story engaging or not, basically. Yeah, and I'm not gonna speak towards like all the specific scenes. There's definitely better ones than others, and stuff like that. But I think just something to keep in the back of your mind as you read, the sort of idea of you want to sort of like feel like as you write through it, you sort of want to feel the acceleration of things changing as you go along with it, right? Because that's what keeps it engaging.
One thing I really
and there's a ton. Just to finish that. There's tons and tons of tools that you can use to do that. Ultimately, it's not just like narration or stuff like that. The story, like the medium you're telling the story through, SRPG Studio, it has like the text boxes in different places. That's one way to do it. Narration, text box styles, that sort of stuff. Is changing expressions, that sort of thing. It's just the sort of thing to make things engaging by changing stuff up and and not constantly changing things up, but like going between different states of affairs, states of beings, and it's hard to explain, but if like the idea got across, just try to keep that in the back of your mind. I feel like that's a good thing to just aim for and acknowledge you're never going to do perfectly, but so long as you're trying to do that, it goes a long way in accomplishing it.
One thing I really liked was the initial castle sequence.
Okay, I really need to go, so sorry, but
yeah, bye-bye.
Talk to you later. I do sort of want to go through it again to give some more thoughts, but
Yep.
have a good one, both of you.
Bye-bye. Go. I really like the castle scene, the castle sequence at the beginning. It had, like, you can control the pacing, of course, because you can go whatever you want. But also the text was like shorter and more impactful, I feel. Like something that really I did not like much was the walls of text, which 6 already went through. I feel the first map was okay-ish. A little bit of improvement, particularly an incentive on taking the upper route, some sort of chest or something. But otherwise, like, players would go to the objective and without taking care of the upper part. The second part, I think the most part is the boars and how they work with the lance mechanic, because you made the lance mechanic mandatory instead of optional. First turn reinforcements, evil. Now there's a beast effective weapon in one of the upper houses. In one of the upper houses in the first level, I'll have to encourage more. But I would say make it a little bit more obvious then. And consistent. I think some of the houses you were not allowed to enter, and some of the houses you could, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's one of those things that, like, I might rant for for half an hour about how I would fix this thing, but at the end of the day, I have this problem. I might not know the solution as much as you do, so you have to translate what I'm saying into something useful. And into something that fits your idea of the game. Like, if it doesn't fit your idea of the game, then don't add it. But we might have personal issues with something or another. But yeah. Do you have any questions? Thanks, Ika. I'm really glad for the feedback. Do you have any questions? No questions. I will work on incorporating the ideas into the game. Okay, sounds good. Then I'll call this a stream. And I'll go for lunch. See you all hopefully in 2 weeks as usual. I'll start working on things. Actually, I should start working on a support scene for Oathbreaker because I owe that to the team. Bye bye.